evening, everybody. Welcome to Sparks Wrap. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. Got the band back together tonight. Obviously, they have the Hall of Fame game out in Canton, Ohio, the Lions and the Chargers, but we're going to entertain you for a little while anyways and talk hockey. Won't be long before training camp starts up. Hard to believe, but we're still a bit late through the summer. And, of course, like I said, I have the University of Miami football to deal with. Joshua Dorr is in the house. What's going on, sports rappers? You are Mr. Dorr. That's what's going on. So we have a lot of hockey. There's a lot more history tonight. Because there's if you're a diehard hockey fan and you're a purist, this is definitely the show for you. Without further delay, I want to welcome back Alan Greenberg for kindly joining us again. We welcome Alan and his storytelling because I only know he has enough of them. Good to have him. George Eichhorn.
Hi there, Scott. Hi, guys. Looking forward to it.
And, of course, Cody is on. And, yes, Josh, we're going to get that logo up a little bit later. Candy just got home from work. So, been busy. We got Cody in here as well. So, great logo, by the way. We will have a new logo for Sports Wrap. And Joshua Dorr was kind enough to put it together. It is classic, let me tell you. Candy actually thought, when I texted her, she thought it was cute. So cute is enough to get it up there. Without further delay, we'll start right where we're going to start. Get this one. An American team has won the Grey Cup more recently than a Canadian team has won a Stanley Cup. Back in 1995, the Baltimore Stallions won the Grey Cup, and the last Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup was the Montreal Canadiens in 1993. Alan, how does that grab you?
Well, they had their chances. I always thought Toronto in the last dozen years or so, every year I say this might be their year, but something happens. It's like they have a curse on them. Something happens at the last minute. They had the best chance. I would think Edmonton, of course, had a great chance. They came close 2 years ago and this year, but it just didn't happen. Give it time. I don't think Toronto's going to get any stronger this year, having lost Mitch Marner. So Edmonton is the only hope, I think.
Yeah, I mean, but really, the Baltimore Stallions, you talk about a trivia question. That's unbelievable. What do you think, Cody, about this one?
Well, it's just crazy to think that I was only 1 year old the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup. So make everyone feel a little old right there. But I guess it'd be nice in my lifetime to see one Canadian team win the Stanley Cup. And I thought Edmonton was going to last 2 years had the best chance. But after this, I mean, I don't think any of the Canadian teams really got better this offseason other than Montreal. But I don't think it was enough for them to, go to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, but the Baltimore Stallions of the CFL, that's just too surreal, George.
Yeah, that is an unusual stat, Scott. I'm glad you picked that one up, boy. I tell you, that Canada's been waiting a long, long time for that Stanley Cup of the Baltimore Stallions of the CFL. And I think those were the days back when the CFL had those hopes of expanding. Obviously, they did for a little while. That's why Baltimore won. But no, that is an oddity, man. And not only that, it's a black mark on Canadian hockey fans, trust me.
Yeah, Joshua Dorr, you're right. They definitely gave them a spanky last year, and he thinks they're going to do it again. Hey, you're talking to a guy like Alan Greenberg. All he does is cover the Panthers for many, many years, going back to his time with the Fisher Report, currently the Florida Hockey Now. So if anybody knows how good the Panthers are, leave little doubt. It's Mr. Greenberg for sure. Speaking of the Edmonton Oilers, let's go right to them. We're going to talk about the Oilers with the most points in history. Actually, we're going to break it down this way. Leon Draisaitl is actually poised to become the fifth Edmonton Oiler with 1,000+ points next season. If he can put up 100-point season, then he will take over third place. So I'll just give you the top five in this one. You got Wayne Gretzky at 1,669, Connor McDavid 1,082, Yari Curry 1,043, Mark Messier 1,034, and of course Leon Draisaitl sits at 956. How do you like, Alan, Draisaitl's odds of being able to be in the top three next year?
I like his odds. He's in mid-career form. He still has plenty of time ahead of him. So, and he's surrounded by good players.
What about you, Cody?
I mean, I agree with Alan. I think he has a really good chance. I mean, someone that was a MVP candidate this last season, and he won the Rocket Richard Trophy. I can easily see him moving up the point ladder real quick in Edmonton.
George?
Yeah, that's some rarefied air there. I'm telling you, those are some great, great names. I think so also. I mean, he's got an opportunity here. The team is winning. I don't see any problem with him stacking up the minutes and the points, etc. So I think Leon's got a good chance to get in that group and move up in that group as you described it, Scott, because he's a hell of a hockey player and he knows how to rack up points and minutes and as long as he stays healthy, that's something that obviously is very awesome for him to shoot for that select company and that record.
Okay, we're going to go over a couple of NHL offseason updates. Yaroslav Halak has announced his retirement from professional hockey at the age of 40. He went 295, 189, and 69. He played from 2006 to 2023. His stops include the Rangers, Canadians, Blues, Sabres, Capitals, Islanders, Bruins, and Canucks. Alan, how would you define the career of Yaroslav Halak?
Well, good career, longevity for sure. I mean, the last few years, of course, he bounced around. I don't know what he did this year. Did he play at all this year or play in Europe? But he had he was not I wouldn't call him a superstar goalie, but he certainly had his good years.
What about you, George?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's had some good years, and when guys leave, there's all kinds of reasons. We don't know all the factors. I mean, some they share with the media, some they don't. There could be personal things going on, or just the fact that he's tired of the aches and pains and the bones, and he wants to get out on the golf course a little bit more and enjoy life. And we know that they take such a pounding. The hockey players, the NHL, and other leagues, they take such a pounding, and. But he had a very good run of it.
Cody?
I mean, 17 years in the league, I don't think he was really ever for sure like number one, but he was always a great 1B, great journeyman, someone that you can always rely on. I think I know him, especially from that time in Montreal, where he literally carried Montreal in that playoff series. That was just he was Carey Price before Carey Price was even there in that playoff series. But like I said, someone that you can always rely on as a good backup, and he was going to get the job done. So I remember him, playing, and like I said, he was always a great one backup goalie in the NHL.
Hey, we'll go to another hockey update. The Carolina Hurricanes have signed Jackson Blake to an 8-year extension worth $5.685 million per season. Alan, some thoughts about the signing?
I don't know what I can say about any of these signings.
Yeah, really.
A lot of money to be made in the NHL. Right. Have a good year and you're set for life.
George?
Yeah, I mean, that's good for him. I mean, Carolina's got a good hockey club. They've been playing very well the last several seasons, and obviously they're missing the same piece that so many other teams are missing, and that's a taste of the Stanley Cup. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money they're throwing around. But as we all know, hockey players don't make as much as they do in some of the other sports. So
right.
I'm not upset when I see that from somebody. I mean, they wouldn't just give it to him for nothing. And obviously he's earned it with his play. And they're going to be a good team again, Carolina in the Ace. Watch out for them.
Cody?
I mean, I'm shocked that he got an 8-year deal after only playing 81 games in the NHL. But I mean, at least they got the deferred payment thing done before the new CBA kicks in.
Right.
And you got the 8 years again, also before that new CBA is in. And I think that $5 million AAV is going to look really good, in 3 or 4 or 5 years. With the way the salary cap is going up, he had 17 goals, 17 assists for 34 points. I mean, and he's gonna be playing top 6 minutes up there. And Carolina got a lot better this offseason, so I can see him definitely getting 60 points this next season or more.
Okay. We're going to play a little game here. If you had a guy after game 7, we're going to call it start, bench, and cut. I'm going to give you 3 choices. Who would you go with? You got Dominic Hasek, Martin Brodeur, Patrick Waugh. Pretty interesting choice. What do you think, Alan?
That's a tough choice. That's like having the top 3 horses in a triple bet or whatever you call them. But I would go for Brodeur. I guess he's as good as it gets.
Okay, George.
Well, I'm going to go with Hasek. Obviously, I had a chance to see him here in the Motor City, and he convinced me he was such a dominant force between the pipes, and he played a key role in Detroit's resurgence. And it's a tough one, though. It's a tough one. I mean, Brodeur would be my number 2. Yeah.
So what we got? Well, I said one, George. Don't confuse me. I got enough things.
Yeah.
I got Hasek. We have a Brodeur. Eichhorn, you always find a way to get off topic. Really? Seriously? Really? Come on, man. Get with it. All right. Cody, I'm sure you can do better than this sick in the head here trying to confuse me.
Hey, at least there wasn't a Detroit reference in there.
Yeah, he always does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
But honestly, I would have to go Hasek, the Dominator himself, number 1 for me, in my opinion. I mean, the way he played, he, like I said, carried Buffalo to that Stanley Cup final. You know, the Dominator, watching him make those saves, nobody's doing that nowadays, and he made it look easy.
Sure. Well, you know what? I'm going to go Patrick Waugh. How's that sound? Anybody that wears the number 33 can't be all that bad. No, I like Patrick Waugh. He's actually won it in 2 places, one in Colorado and Montreal, right? I think he's won cups in both places, right? So,
yeah.
So I got to go with the guy that's won in a couple places. All right. Anybody would be familiar with this would be you, Ellen. NHL insider Frank Cervalli has been named varsity head coach of Germantown hockey program. How do you like an NHL insider being named a coach?
Who is? Run that by me again. Who is this?
Yeah, NHL insider Frank Cervalli. Have you ever heard of him?
I've seen the name, but I don't really know the guy.
Well, anyways, he's been named varsity head coach of Germantown hockey program. I'm just going to break it down in layman's terms. When you see a hockey insider named a hockey coach, what does that tell you?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, he's probably not an experienced coach, I would say, if it's a hockey insider.
Well, I like to throw these little mess around types of questions. I guess if he knows how to write about hockey, one would think he knows how to go ahead and teach it, right? It's in high school. It's in high school. It's the summer. That's why we put stuff like that in there.
I mean, I'm just happy he's not spreading news about the Ducks random trade. Like he was saying Gibson was going to get traded 5 years ago, and he said he would never play a game in Anaheim again. He played 4 more seasons with Anaheim. Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to hear that anymore. Whenever he said anything about the Ducks, I knew it wasn't going to happen.
There you go. Well, okay, he's a little bit more familiar. All right, we're going to get it up there, Cybrewski. Show something called patience. All right. Hey, I'll go back to what I said before. I don't know much about him. I don't follow a lot of hockey insiders. I do from time to time. I cover everything, but if the guy can write about it, one would hope he can teach it. I just hope he does a better job than Doug Gottlieb did when he was on ESPN, the way he's wrecking that program at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. So we'll leave it at that. Had to get my Doug Gottlieb reference in there. As we get back, so now we're going to play. What we did the last time we were all together is we're going to compare superstars. I think everybody likes this. So we're going to talk about Bobby Orr versus Bobby Clarke through the years. Bobby Orr played 657 games, had 2 Stanley Cups, 270 career goals, 915 career points, 3 Hart trophies. Meanwhile, Bobby Clarke, known for the Broad Street Bullies, you've got 1,144 games played, 2 Stanley Cups, 358 career goals, 1,210 points, 3 Hart trophies. Who are you going with, Alan?
That's another tough choice. I mean, this is not really comparing apples to apples because they played different positions, but Orr did everything great. I mean, Clarke was great. He was an intimidator, great offensive player. I don't really, as far as his defensive ability, I guess it was okay. I don't really remember, but Orr did just about everything. So if I had to pick either of those, I would take Orr.
Okay, fair enough. George?
Well, that is a difficult decision. It really is. Orr had a fantastic career, as we all know, with Boston. But when I look at Clark, I'm looking at the total package here. When you look at some of the awards that Bobby Clark gained and won during his career, I mean, it ran the gamut. It ran the gamut from the Selke, the Hart, the Pearson Award, the Lester Patrick. I mean, on and on and on. He wasn't just a one-type player. As we know, he was a great defender as well. All-Star games. He was in 8 NHL All-Star games. First team All-Star only twice. Second team twice. Stanley Cup champion 2. I'm going to go with Bobby Clark this time. I mean, I admire them both, but I'm going to take Clark of the Broad Street Bullies, the Flyers.
Where are you going with this one, Cody?
I'm gonna side with Alan on this one. I mean, I get what George is going for, but also Bobby Orr, 9-time All-Star, 2-time Cup winner, 2-time Ross, 3-time Hart, 2 times Conn Smythe, and 8-time Norris Trophy winner. How can you not want to pick a defenseman like that?
You know what? I'm going to go Bobby Orr as well. I love the Broad Street Bullies, love everything they did. And the biggest thing I like about them is what they did to the Russians one time when they were beating every American team on the planet, called the Conflict of Ice. But Bobby Orr was just an exciting player. He's an offensive defenseman. That's what he was. And his excitable play, the only thing that wrecked him were knee injuries and the injuries that he had, because I think those numbers would have been way higher than they turned out to be. But electric, he changed the game of hockey with his offensive abilities for a defenseman. All right, I've got another one I'm going to throw at you guys. Phil Esposito versus Wayne Gretzky. Alan?
Again, it's like having a I don't know what you call it, but a bet on the first 2 horses on both entries. Both great players, a little bit different in style. I mean, Gretzky was fast. Probably a little bit faster. Esposito probably a little bit stronger, but I mean they both were right up there. If you compare their stats, I guess Gretzky has a little bit more. But to compare the two, who would you want on your team? If I had to make a choice, I would of course say Gretzky. He was the great one. He had everyone beat.
George?
Yeah, again, 2 great individuals, 2 great scorers. I'm not going to go through the trophies, but in the first team All-Star stuff this time, but Phil Esposito had a great career. No question about it. He was one of the top playmakers, but you can't go against number 99. I mean, Wayne Gretzky had an unbelievable career. We all know that. But even off the ice, he's just been a gentleman, and he's been such a great spokesman for hockey and professional sports. So I'm going to stick with the great one on this one. Go with Wayne Gretzky.
All right, Cody, what about you?
I mean, is there really anywhere else to go on this one?
Well, I'll give you reasons why there are, but go ahead.
I mean, I barely even watched Gretzky play. I was never really around to really watch Esposito play. But I mean, just if you take away all the goals from Gretzky, he still has more points than Phil Esposito and in the rest of the NHL. So how can you not want to go with someone called the Great One and has his number retired on all 32 teams?
True. Let's put a couple of numbers out there though. Phil Esposito, I believe, had 76 goals in 78 games during a much more physical league than you had. I often wonder, and I'm not knocking Wayne Gretzky because let's face the reality, Wayne Gretzky is who he is. He's a great one. And of course, people in Detroit will be partial for Gordie Howe. We know that Wayne Gretzky's idol was Gordie Howe, so that goes without saying. But that was a physical time period where we had 6 to 12 teams back then, for the majority of it until expansion took. And he has 76 goals in, I believe, 78 games. The consensus is you go with Gretzky, but I could make a case for Phil Esposito all day long. I really could. So I'll go with Gretzky, but I'll do what Brett Favre used to do. I like to waffle a little on this one. So with that said, we're going to go to a station break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the Kachucks. We're going to talk about some Hall of Fame and some other numbers before we hit fire up. And Alan, we're going to give you opportunities to promote everything that you want to as well. Go ahead, Candy.
So I just want to show, since everybody wanted the logo to see the logo, I'm going to put it up so everybody can see what the logo that they have been talking about. Here is Sports Wrap.
Ah,
I love
nice.
it. It's literally a
Nice.
wrap. I love it.
Yeah, you got to give Joshua Dorr credit for putting this one together. It's a fantastic logo. Candy is going to incorporate it into it a little bit later. But we looked at this logo and said, you know what? This is exactly what it's all about. A wrap is food, the hockey stick. So that will be in there probably later on. We didn't have time because we had so many pre-production things we had to do. But there you go. So there you go, Joshua Cyberowski. It will be up a little bit. Well, in fact, it's up on our screen now. How's that sound? So now you have it, guys. All right, Candy, go to the station break. Well
Station
done,
break, here
Joshua.
we go. South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. And the foreword is written by another host tonight, George Eichhorn. Awesome book, gentlemen. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise, you can call Scott, 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest on a show or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Candy. We got Fire Up coming up after us, so it's going to be a great show. That crew will be filled. So we're going to talk about some of the best Canadian-born goaltenders. Alan is welcome to incorporate some of his as well. I'll go on the list. Martin Brodeur, who played for New Jersey. Patrick Waugh for Montreal and Colorado. Carey Price played for Montreal. And Ken Dryden, obviously, played for the Canadians. Roberto Luongo, known with the Vancouver Canucks and the Florida Panthers. You also have Jacques Plante, Montreal, Toronto. Terry Sawchuk, Detroit. Andre Fleury with Pittsburgh. And you've got Ed Belfour with Chicago and Curtis Joseph, Toronto. Anyone that you want to add in there, Alan?
Well, it's hard to compare goalies from different eras. If you go back, this is before my time even, you would have had guys like Bill Duran and Turk Broda on that list. There's so many of them that were great goaltenders. But again, it was before all of our times, so I can't compare them. The one guy who's conspicuously missing from that list is Glenn Hall, who should definitely be in that list. Glenn, I mean, besides playing in 502 consecutive games without a mask, he was a 7-time first All-Star, 3-time Vezina winner. Now, the Vezina then was what is now the Jennings Trophy for the best goals against average. He was a Calder Trophy winner as Rookie of the Year, and he was also listed as one of the NHL's 100 greatest players. So I would definitely put him on that list.
Very good. I'll leave the list intact because that's where it came from. But
Okay.
Glenn Hall is certainly a number because
When
hockey.
we're done with this, I have a little story about Glenn Hall to tell.
Well, go ahead. And again, I preface this topic by saying it's the best Canadian-born goaltenders of all time. That's why I mentioned it like I did. So, all right, go ahead.
A little anecdote about Hall. This is from personal experience because I happened to be at this particular game. But way back in 1968, he and Jacques Plante shared the goaltending duties for St. Louis. Scotty Bowman was the coach. And Bowman, what he used to do was he would, in order to rest these guys, because they were older guys, he would bring in prospects to sit as the backup goalie. So the second goalie didn't have to dress for a game and sometimes didn't even travel to the game. He might go to a city a day in advance, but it was to save them a lot of traveling and to rest them. Now, one night at Madison Square Garden, the backup goalie was a guy named Robbie Irons. I don't know if you ever heard the name, but he had a goaltending career in the NHL of less than 3 minutes. But he became part of history. Irons was the backup for a game in 1968, which I was at as a fan, so I remember it. And that particular night, Hall was the starter for St. Louis. He was kind of grumpy because it was the first time he ever wore a mask in a game, and he was very uncomfortable. 2 minutes into the game, he protested a goal too aggressively and was thrown out of the game by referee Vern Buffy. So what happened? Robbie Irons, who never played an NHL game, was sitting on the bench. He had to come in. In those days, a relief goalie was entitled to a warm-up. So Irons, who I happened to meet a few years ago, told me that when he came out, Doug Harvey, who was playing for St. Louis, brought in a message from Bowman, mainly stall, just keep stalling, and
Right.
until Plant could come down from the press box and get dressed. So he stalled during the warm-up, then he faked an injury, then he faked equipment trouble, while Ranger coach Emil Francis was just fuming on the bench at all this. And finally, Buffy said, just get out there and play. So he made one save and he was relieved by Plant. But because of that episode, the NHL had to adopt a new rule. It was then known as the Robbie Irons rule for a guy who played 2 minutes of Major League Hockey or 3 minutes. In the regular season game, the teams had to dress 2 goalies, and they were the only ones who were allowed to finish a game. If both of them were hurt, the team was out of luck. They had to bring a skater in. That rule has since been changed because we have the e-bug and all that now. But that incident sparked a change in the rules of the NHL. That's my story.
Your stories are great. That's why we always leave enough room for them. All right, we're going to
Robbie Irons, by the way, went on to a very long and distinguished career in the International Hockey League. And when he retired, he stayed with the team as a TV commentator for years and years. He now lives in Florida.
Okay. Well, we're going to go to another list. I like coming up with lists during this time of the year. And that's this, the NHL's all-time single season points leaders. And I'm talking about single season. This is a pretty good list, too. Wayne Gretzky obviously holds a mark at 215. Mario Lemieux at $1.99. Steve Yzerman is 155 at third. Phil Esposito, yes, Mr. Esposito, 152 is fourth. Jaromir Jagr is fifth with 149. Connor McDavid is sixth with 153. Nikita Kucherov is seventh with 128. Joe Sakic is eighth with 120. And of course, they also have Pat LaFontaine listed at 148 and Mike Bossy 147. Which of these names, Alan, stands out to you? I have a Ken. You have a lot of great names here. We're talking about single season.
Every single one of them stands out. I mean, I couldn't say, and I'd like to have any one of those guys on my team. I mean, they didn't play at the same time, but I mean, every one of these guys was a great player. You can't really compare one against the other. I mean, I'd take any of them on my team. Some of them had, let's say, more single seasons of 100+ points or whatever it is, and some of them played in a slightly different time when the scoring was a little bit different. Just a little bit of statistics. When Gretzky had his best seasons with the Oilers when they were winning Stanley Cups, teams were scoring 4, 5, 6 goals a game. Then and that's when he had all those points. Grant Fuhr, who was the goalie, who was a Hall of Fame goalie, has believe it or not, a lifetime goals against average of 3.18 and a save percentage of .887. Which is not exactly outstanding. And during those years with the Oilers, his averages in the high threes and his save percentage never went above 900. So, it's hard to compare different time spans, but I'll take Gretzky anytime.
Okay, that's all right. Hey, listen, that's a great answer. I love it. Let's face the reality. These stats are out there for a reason. I guess the one thing what's cool about these stats, though, when you look at them, and you compare the modern NHL versus how it was when they racked up these numbers, is which one stands the test of time of being able to hold out the longest before you have a record breaker. And that's why I brought this into the program to begin with. Sometimes you wonder what records stand the test of time, and that's why we have it out here. George, what are your thoughts about what we have here?
Well, all of those are great names, obviously. I mean, starting with Gretzky and but yeah, it's good to remember, and you pointed this out too, Alan, is, you're talking about expansion hockey and things changed, not only the style of play, but obviously there were more opportunities to score for a guy like Gretzky when you're not just playing 6, or even when they added 6 more, and it was 12 teams at that time when Bowman was coaching St. Louis. But I'll tell you what, Wayne's, I mean, that's just unbelievable. I mean, that is over 200 points in a single season. I mean, all of those guys that you mentioned, and I didn't even know Stevie Y was that high up for his year, but God almighty, those are some great players. And I really think that, and say what you want about Gretzky, he wasn't as as maybe well liked as some people thought, that were, like you said earlier, Scott, in the Gordie Howe camp. But man, oh man, as time went on, he proved that year after year, season after season, they had some great players on that team. But Wayno is number one in my book for a single
All right.
season.
Okay, Cody.
I mean, can't go wrong with someone that scored over 200 points in one season.
Yeah.
But I thought Kucherov had 144 points a couple seasons ago.
Well,
I
the
could've
list I have says 128. Who knows? This is when the list came out recently, so I'm just going by what's in front of me.
Oh, okay. Well, I was like, I could swear he had 144 a couple seasons ago, but I mean, but still, like, any of these people I would love to have on my team.
Yeah.
Anyone that is over a point, well over a point a game or 2 points a game, who doesn't want that on their team? Especially as a Ducks fan, I think we've only had 100 point or maybe two our whole since we've been a franchise. I would love to have that.
Right. I think what's interesting about the list, some of the surprises on here. Number one, the surprise is Gordie Howe isn't even on the list. That's number one. Number two, I'm surprised that Steve Yzerman is actually on this list. Then number three at $1.55.
Gordie Howe
Lemieux
played. Yeah, he played in a 70-game season, and that was at the latter point of his career. Most of his
that's
career
true too. So you know what?
60-game season.
That's an excellent point. So you know what? Maybe I'm not surprised because you just mentioned that. No, I'll give you that. So all right, there you go. That's why he's not on the list. Of course, we all know full well that he has his own hat trick named after him, and it isn't because he's on this list. That's for sure. So I'll give you credit. I'll give you that. He didn't play in as many games based on the season, and that's why those numbers are what they are. But Yzerman at $1.55 surprised me, and that's a record 212 by Gretzky. They're going to get touched, and Lemieux was safe at 199. All right, well, Alexander Mogilny finally got the call to hockey immortality. Long overdue, Alan?
He is fully worthy of the Hall. He has always been worthy of the Hall. He was a pioneer of sorts. A few years back, I did a piece for the Hockey News where I was asked to name, my opinion anyway, of the 10 best European players of all time, and or the 15 best, I don't know, but I had him rated as number 10. And don't forget, he was a top player in Russia before he ever came to North America, and he was the first Russian draftee to defect to the NHL. So he did a lot of things, and also he was the first Russian team captain with Buffalo. So he was a star with several teams. He's fully worthy of that honor.
George?
Yeah, he's 56 years old now, of course, a right winger. I think I echo your sentiments there, Alan. I mean, he had great numbers in the Soviet Union / Russia when he played over there a couple times for some teams in Moscow, and then of course with Buffalo, Vancouver, New Jersey, and Toronto. Drafted 89th overall back in 1988, and some would say maybe a sleeper, but he did have a good thing going for him. I mean, all the scouting that teams were doing back then in Europe was not as common, obviously, as it is now. Of course not. It was hard to get guys to come over here especially from Russia and some of the communist countries at the time. But I mean, when he joined the NHL, he made an immediate impact, and to join the Hockey Hall of Fame is so well deserving. In 2025 here, he waited a long time. He retired in 2006. So, it's a long wait for him, but I'm sure he's very happy about it in his family. They'll have a great time. He's still only in his 50s, and it's certainly well deserving. Yeah. Hats off to him. What a great career. What a great player.
Cody?
About time. So well deserved. I believe 15, 16 years, way too late.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's all I have to say on that.
I guess when I think of Mogilny, I can go back to the Baseball Hall of Fame and thinking that Dave Parker should have gotten in before he died, and Dick Allen should have done the same. Thankfully for Alex Mogilny, he got in while he was alive. We've been talking about that all week. glad he finally did get in. Now we don't have to talk about it anyways. We always talk about the first family of football being the Mannings. But I'll tell you what, the Kachucks aren't doing so bad themselves either. And here's why. The Kachuk family, Keith, played in 1,201 NHL games, 538 goals, 1,065 points. He had more points than any of his kids. Of course, right now they're still currently playing. I get that. Matthew Kachuk in 642 games has 240 goals, 636 points, but he got 2 Stanley Cups. Brady Kachuk, 512 games, 191 goals, 404 points. Alan, you said that you have written articles on this and some stories about the Kachucks. Please share
Well,
them with us.
a couple of years ago, again, I said I did something about the top 10 Europeans. I did one of the top 10 Americans also. And I had rated Keith Kachuk. This is purely subjective, but I rated him as number 5. And as far as his sons, the apples, in this case, certainly didn't fall far from the tree because they play the same aggressive style, tough power forwards who get under your skin. I rated Keith Kachuk 5th best American all time. He's one of only 4 Americans to exceed 500 career goals. And this is really noteworthy because he never really played for great teams. Down in Arizona, he added snarl. He was probably the first American to really play that aggressive style. But he also added a little snarl, and he established credibility of hockey when he went to Arizona. It was an out of the way place. So I give him a lot of credit. One of the other, just again, a little side issue here, as I have a way of doing these things. I had rated Joey Mullen, who also scored 500 goals. I think he was he might have been the first, but anyway, I rated him right up there also for a couple of reasons. But I have a side issue because Mullen and I have something in common, believe it or not. Besides the fact that we both came from New York, I'm a few years older than him, obviously, but we both played in the same roller hockey league in New York, 20 years apart, but we did. And he did a lot better than I did, believe me.
Very good. Thanks a lot for sharing those. Yeah, the Kachucks are unbelievable. I mean, but Matthew's credit got 2 Stanley Cups and counting. But I was in Arizona, though, at that time when the Coyotes played over at the America West Arena. I went in there, and I said before, that is the worst place to play hockey. But I will say, Keith Kachuk, his name was on billboards there in that downtown Phoenix area. So he was definitely featured there for sure. So everything you're saying is tremendously, totally accurate. I'm with you all the way. George, what are your thoughts about the Kachucks?
That's a hell of a family. It is. And the boys are taking after their dad. He was one of the elite power forwards during his time in the league, and you guys mentioned about being aggressive and physical, his style of play. And then also, listen to this, the penalty minutes that guy racked up was unbelievable. He had 10 of his 19 NHL seasons were 100 minutes or more in the penalty box. And 3 of them, he was over 200 penalty minutes. So you talk about somebody known for scoring goals, but also for obviously throwing his weight around and being aggressive on the ice, which you guys said earlier, wasn't too common, at least when he started in the league. And some of the teams didn't really have too many enforcers. But as you look at it now, yeah, he's definitely a guy that took the lead, took the set the pace of a game sometimes, the style of play and what kind of game it was going to be, depending on the opponent, of course. And then, of course, like you said, the kids are doing great, Stanley Cup champions, and it's just amazing how, the lineage thing works so well. And especially in hockey, I've seen that, especially in some other sports as well. But no, I think that the family tree is solid. And it's still reaping fruit there, Scott. I really think so.
Well, I enjoyed watching the Kachucks play together in the Four Nations face-off and the fiery, competitive nature that they had playing together. That was fun.
Yeah.
That really was. We know, of course, Matt Kachuk's in my backyard playing for the Florida Panthers and all that. I get that, what they've done. But to watch those 2 brothers, the way they're fiery at the Four Nations, that was fun to watch. What about you, Cody?
I mean, talk about someone else that needs to be in the Hall of Fame sooner than later is Keith Kachuk. But I mean, watching his sons play, I mean, they make hockey so entertaining. And I have guys that have at my work that have never watched hockey. They don't care about any teams. They just want to root for Matthew and Brady Tkachuk. They don't care about anyone else. They just love the way they play and everything. And no matter what, you're going to get 100% every time they step on that ice. And then they're going to fight for your team no matter how injured they are. They're going to fight to make sure you guys get that W. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to watching these guys to the end of their careers.
Yeah, they're definitely, those two are unbelievable to watch. And of course, let's face the reality though, when you break down the numbers, and Keith Tkachuk does have more points than any of them, over 1,000. It's just they're all complete. I guess if I had to compare fathers and sons, I think, and don't worry, George, I'm not going to nail you for this one. How do you not go to the Howe family? You have Gordie Howe, Mark Howe, and let's see, you got Gordie Howe, Mark Howe, and I think Marty.
Marty.
Yeah, but I think when you look at the Howes, though, most of the people will look at Gordie and Mark Howe is what they'll do. I don't think Marty played a long time, but this is a good segue for what we're going to do next Wednesday night. We're going to talk NHL expansion on Wednesday night on the Sports Exchange, and what we're going to do. Alan, if you ever want to come on that show, fine. If you don't, I get it. I know we've been keeping you busy during the off season, but I'm going to have a guy by the name of Cliff Neal on, and he's a hockey expansion guru who resides out of Towson, Maryland, just so you know. But this is unbelievable. We're going to talk about Atlanta, Houston, and maybe other possibilities. And of course, you're rest assured the Houston Aeros are going to be brought up on that night as well. But putting it out there, if not, no big deal. I'm just glad you're on here tonight sharing your stories. Cody and I and George love your stories anyways. It's just good to be able to do another show with you. Cody was telling me the other day while we were talking, I love working with Alan and you older guys, man. I learned so much from you guys, right, Cody?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I remember when I had a chance to talk to Mark Howe, and there's a picture of us on the South Florida Tribune as well. So it's pretty neat stuff. All right, well, you know what? I got something that I know Cody's going to feel very good. We normally don't talk soccer, but I have adopted another soccer team here out in London. Really never had one that I could call my own, but I actually adopted Chelsea Football Club. Why did I adopt them? Same colors as the Detroit Lions. Didn't know that until I got there. But this is a pretty cool place. So I'm going to put a couple things out there. And of course, it doesn't hurt that they recently won the World Cup, which I didn't know anything about anyway. But I got a couple interesting things we're going to talk about. Chelsea's club World Cup run has earned Mark Walters' sports empire another $100 million. And it's called Waltell's Sport Portfolio, consists of the Lakers, the Dodgers, Chelsea Football Club, the LA Sparks, and more. So get this, Mark Walters owns Chelsea, and he owns the Lakers, and now the Dodgers. What are your thoughts about Mark Walters, Alan?
Must be a pretty good businessman. That's all I can say. I'll confess right now. I know the only thing I know about soccer is it's the most popular sport in the world outside of North America. But other than that, I couldn't name 3 soccer players for you. But as what you just told me about Mark, he's obviously into sports and pretty good businessman to bring up to accumulate that kind of a portfolio.
Yeah, $100 million because of that World Cup run that they had there. That is just unbelievable. And when I look at this whole number and I put it in perspective, he owns a Chelsea club and you have the Lakers and you have the Dodgers. That's a lot of coins.
That's a nice
really
property.
He's also owns the Women's Hockey League. That's why it's called the Walter Cup.
Oh, is that right? Well, good.
Yeah.
Then you can pick up the rest of this segment and talk about Chelsea now that you volunteered that information. Give us some perspective of that number as well as anything else. And I have another one that we're going to end the show on.
Yep.
So give me your perspective about that, about Mark Walters and his big empire.
Well, of course, when I first started, it was a Russian guy, Romanovich, is the one that owned Chelsea before. So
Right.
This was just what I want to say 2 or 3 years ago that Walters and I can't remember the other guy's name. I think that they like both bought it together. It's another American guy. I just can't remember his name for the life of me right now. But no, like I said, I've started following Chelsea FC. I want to say in 2007. You know,
Okay.
like I said, Petr Cech was one of my favorite goalies, and he actually plays. After he retired from soccer, he started playing in the London Hockey League as a goalie. So he continued. He's from Czechia. Like I said, I modeled my game after him. I just loved all their players. They were like great role models to look up to. And also, you also got to remember, if you're a Detroit Lions fan, Chelsea FC, they have a lion in their logo.
Yeah,
So-
I
Yeah,
noticed
so-
that. That's another reason why I liked them.
Yeah, no, I've always loved the Chelsea. I've watched both of their Champions League runs. Even when they won the Europa, I was watching. I try to watch them as much as I can, but they start at like 5:00 sometimes, and I'm either at work or I want to sleep in on the weekends when that happens. So, but when I do have a chance to watch, I do like to watch. I haven't been as loyal as I should be, but as I said, I'm definitely what they call the pride of West London, and go Blues on that one.
I'll
So.
tell you what I'm going to do. The next time you're on this show and I get my shirts, I'm going to wear a Chelsea shirt. How does that sound?
I would
makes
wear
it
mine, but I've gained a lot of weight since I've bought those, so I don't think they're going to fit me.
Well, I
I
got
have quite a bit.
I got a 2X. I'm waiting for that to come here. I don't know if it'll make it through customs. I got it through Amazon anyway. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. And we have a lot more of those Chelsea videos coming down the pipeline here in the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. So, George, your thoughts about Mr. Walters, his incredible portfolio, to say the
Oh
least.
my gosh, yeah, I know you listed it, and it just goes on and on and on. Andretti, Gold Global, and the auto racing, and
Right.
Cadillac Formula One team, and you guys mentioned already the women's NBA and the Los Angeles Sparks and the women's professional hockey. This
Yeah.
man is loaded, and but he loves sports. He's got a passion for sports, and you don't see that all too frequently with owners. I mean, yes, they love their sport, but they pretty much own one or maybe two teams. But this guy's has been involved in so many different sports that it's an incredible life that he leads. And even though he is wealthy, I mean, he loves his teams, and now, like you mentioned, Chelsea, and it's just it's a passion of his. Obviously, I mean, all the owners have a passion, but somebody like him just goes and spreads it out all over. And the thing is, too, he's doing a lot concerning women's athletics, and the women, as we know, has really taken off. The women athletics, the women leagues, and so hats off to him. Hats off to him for being part of that, and owning some of those teams and helping promote women's professional sports.
Yeah, well, this is becoming more and more popular, though, with owners owning multiple teams and a lot more franchises. Many years ago, there was a conflict of interest. I'll never forget when I first lived in Fort Lauderdale during my first time down here. Joe Robbie owned the Dolphins, but he had to put the Fort Lauderdale Strikers into his wife's name, Elizabeth Robbie. But nowadays, it isn't a big deal. But it's become a lot more popular now. Some of these guys, NFL teams are going out to overseas and buying soccer teams. I believe, if I remember correctly, I don't know, I think I read it somewhere, the Glazers actually own Manchester United. So that's pretty unbelievable there. Yeah, no, they do. I'm just telling you. Football, FUTBOL and FOOTBALL as an NFL style, there's a lot of kick and a lot of dough in there. One last thing we're going to talk about on that, and then Alan's going to have a chance to promote anything he darn well chooses to. Okay? Donald Trump actually capped Chelsea's World Cup trophy in the Oval Office, leaving Chelsea with a replica trophy to lift at the final. Can you believe that? Alan, I mean, when I get in politics, but what we're saying is
Nothing
he actually
surprising.
kept it, and they had to do the replica. Wow.
Nothing surprises me.
Yeah, that's okay. Nothing surprises me either, and I'll leave it at that. George?
Yeah, well, I know that when he was at that match, I did hear a little bit of scuttlebutt on the social media platforms about the fact that he got in those pictures. I think the commissioner was trying to actually tell him like this, no, 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 come on towards me now. And he said no. So we know how big his ego is. There's no question about that. But for him to
Right.
haul that trophy, keep it there, that's a good one. I never heard of a president or, oh gosh.
Well, I know
That's
I know one
crazy.
thing. Chelsea is a Hall of Fame in a museum. I hope somehow, some way, they got pictures of all that. They can just stick it out there by that stadium in their museum. Because I
Yeah.
thought when I put it on here, it was a surreal story. Knowing that I have Cody, who's a fan, it was appropriate to put it in this show. So this topic is there for Cody. Okay, that's for sure. All right, so go ahead, Cody. Give me your thoughts.
All I can tell you is, if I was playing my butt off to win a tournament as big as this, and I had to lift not the actual trophy, but a replica, I'd be pissed.
All
No,
right.
these guys are fighting, tooth and nail. Yeah, that's a great logo, George. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yep, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And the colors
But
are good too.
just for him to be in the pictures and not even let them. I mean, I can understand, like, hey, let him lift the trophy. He should have got the replica. He probably knows as many players as Island does. He probably doesn't know anyone on those. He probably couldn't even talk to half those players. It's just, like I said, I don't agree with that. He should have got the replica. The team should get the real thing. They should have been lifting the real thing. They're the ones that fought for it, not him. So, and like I said, if I was a player, I'd be mad because if I'm gonna fight for that, I want to lift the real thing, not the fake one.
Okay. Well, like I said, we try to be different on these broadcasts, and that's what we do. Hello there, Taylor Phillips. He'll be on Fire Up a little while with the group. We're going to have Samir on there. We're going to have Jeremy. We're going to have Taylor. We're going to have JD White. We have Candy leading the country club. With that said, that does complete it for this part of Sports Wrap. So, Alan, how about some more stories you want to share with us and any books you want to promote?
Well, funny you should ask. I wasn't planning to, but by an amazing coincidence, as I explained last week, hockey is a passion, but it's an avocation. It's been an avocation for 40 odd years. I was always a frustrated writer, and I always did this as a hobby. I retired from my career about 20 years ago, believe it or not. I spent most of my working life as a big deal government man. I was very fortunate to go way up the ladder, and I dealt with presidents, with Congress, with judges. And once I retired, I had time on my hands, so I went to work and I wrote a book called Confessions of a Government Man, which is available on Amazon. It's primarily a collection of anecdotes, funny stories about funny things happening in high places of government, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, a lot of outrageous stuff. I did that a few years back. Then came the pandemic, and my buddy Stan Fischler convinced me to write another one. He wrote a book about Brooklyn, where we both grew up. He said I should write one about Brooklyn. I didn't have enough stories, really, so I took some more funny government stories, and I added some stories about a streetwise kid growing up in Brooklyn. Again, basically humorous stories, Brooklyn to the Beltway. This one, I have to say, might be in some places just a wee bit risque, but that's okay. And they were all done as a labor of love. So any checks I get from Amazon, I donate to cancer charities. I just enjoy doing it. I enjoy hockey. I enjoy telling stories. I'm probably the senior statesman in the press box in Florida. So I tell all these fellas and I don't know who's watching now, but I tell stories about the old garden and I was in all the original 6 arenas way back. When I was in college, one of my goals was to get this to the 6 arenas, which I did. Unfortunately, then the league expanded to 12 teams. So I had to start all over again. Then the old arenas were replaced by newer arenas. So I had to finally give up because I had some other important things to do, like raising a family and having a career. But that's it for me. That was my life.
It's funny how you say that. I was telling a friend of mine the other day that I gave up on my bucket list of stadiums, and I'm taking my act on to travel internationally. There's only so much of that stuff you can do. There's a whole world to see. And that's why I had an awful lot of fun. George and I had some fun last night when I played a video with my chopsticks, and I had a song in a hibachi place called Make Your Own Kind of Music, and I was just having a ball like a minute and a half to 2 minutes. And I don't want to go ahead and bore everybody and make them all deaf there, but I had these metal chopsticks. Told Candy, go out there and record this. So what are you doing? She said, trust me on this. And I had all these people across from me over our hibachi table, and I make your own kind of music, and I just kept flashing those chopsticks. It was a blast, man.
That
So
was great.
but-
That's good stuff.
yeah. But the whole idea is, you're right. You hit so many stadiums, but then you realize when you take your first trip overseas, and you're, whether it's cruising or the other way, it's just so beautiful to see the world and do those things. The stadiums are a moot point when you look at some of the other things around the world. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So thanks for sharing that with us. So anything else you want to promote? I have your 2 books or anything.
Well, I don't have to promote anything.
All
My
right.
wife is sitting a few feet away from me. I'll just add another story. Our second date 60 odd years ago, I took her to a Ranger game magnanimously. And the only reason I didn't do it on the first date is the Rangers weren't playing that night.
Okay. All right.
She had to live with this for all these years, and she does a good job.
Well, I'm
Oh,
glad everything's going well. So you said your one book is called Brooklyn to the Beltway. Is that correct?
Brooklyn to the Beltway.
Here, just put it up there again so I can see it. Put it up to the camera. All right, Brooklyn to the Beltway. There you go. You can get that on Amazon.
Yeah.
Authored by Alan Greenberg. Thanks very much. And at least you have an opportunity to promote it. All right. So that means we got 3 authors in here: myself, Alan, and George. All right, George, give it up to him.
Yeah. By the way, I went to 3 of those 6. I never got to Madison Square Garden, Toronto, or Boston, but of course, Detroit, Chicago, and Montreal. I did see hockey in those original 6 original stadiums, if you will. Yeah, I wrote a book called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air, which has to do with all of the sports broadcasters. And Alan, you're going to know these guys. Like right on the cover there, as you see Bud Lynch and Gordie Howe. And they're playing around with a winger. And by the way, that mascot was dumped by the Red Wings after only a couple of years. Nobody's given me a good reason why, but they got rid of them. And they don't have a mascot. So I thought you'd get a kick out of that. And the gentleman in the white hair above the words casters, that's the late, great Alec Stelvecchio, who died at age 94 a few weeks ago. Alex Delvecchio is on the cover, the faded type of if you will, background photo. So I did a lot of hockey on that, but there's baseball, football, basketball, hockey. There's guys that made their name in Detroit. Some of them were born here in Michigan and then went on to famous things. We talked to Scott and I last night about a fellow named Gary Danielson, who's going to do now his last year. He's in the book too, because he's worked for the network, as we all know, CBS. But anyways, it was a labor of love. And Scott's in the book when he and I were doing the Sports Exchange radio show back in the day with Phil Gristell on WXYZ, the AM owned and operated giant. It was a radio giant, WXYZ in Detroit. And it still is a great city and a great town for sports, as we know. And I also write, of course, for the South Florida Tribune and cover the Tigers and the Red Wings, et cetera, for the Detroit Monitor as well. So, yeah, it's been a good I'm glad that book is still out there and alive. And you can get a link to my book or go to Amazon.com and look it up. Or at the end of my column, you'll see a link to that if you search on the South Florida Tribune under the contributors section.
Very good, George. All right, Cody, let everybody know about your podcast. Anything else you want to put out there, my friend?
Yeah, so we go live every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This last week, we did a what if the NHL did a March Madness style tournament. I did a simulation on NHL 25, and let's just say it was a wild tournament. That's all I'm going to say. I hope you guys got that. But like I said, it was fun to go over that. It's definitely not what I expected as an outcome and everything. We had some upsets. The Ducks did something the Kings could never do, is the Ducks actually beat the Oilers in the first round in that tournament, believe it or not. It was a full sim. I had no control over anything. So I did make fun of my dad on that one. But you can find us on all podcast platforms at Royally Quacked. Go download all the episodes, go subscribe to us on YouTube and Twitch, and join the fun and just hear me and my dad go at each other. And the next 2 weeks, we're going to do special episodes. This weekend, we're doing all-time Ducks team, where we have to come up with 4 lines, 3 D pairs, 2 goalies, a power play unit, and a PK unit. And then we're going to do a simulation and do against the all-time Kings episode where my dad will be the main host on that one. I'll set that one out and let him do his thing with his Kings fans. So I'm really looking forward to these next 2 weeks.
Well, let me tell you, we enjoy having you on as a contributor. When Mike Santos comes back later in there, you're definitely going to be on all the time as often as you get on. George and I do this. Alan, you always have an open invite anytime you want. We're just so glad you came back in back-to-back week. I felt like you had more than 1 week's worth of stories in you, so why not do it during the summertime? So it's so glad to have you on. Candy, why don't you come back for one more station break? And when you do that, Candy, by the way, I'm wearing my alma mater shirt here, South Florida night, in case those of you are wondering. Yeah, and give a preview for what's going on in Fire Up, Can.
Well, you already told everybody who's going to be on. It was going to be a surprise, but it's not anymore.
Well, I'll
You
say it
looked
again.
all
So
out of
what?
the bag.
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert. So there's a game going on right now. We are going to be previewing the we're continuing our series. We're previewing all the divisions in the NFL. So tonight we preview the NFC and AFC North. So the Detroit Lions are playing right now, and we're going to be previewing them for this year. We're going to be talking about some of the MLB trades since the trade deadline was today. What team picked up the best trades or best people to make the run for the for the playoffs? And we always do a segment called My Town, which means you can talk about what's happening in your town for my panelists, where they live, because let's face it, when you're a sports fan, you typically, I'm not going to say always, but typically, you follow the teams around you very heavily. And so they're experts in those cities. So that's why I have the My Town segment. And then we'll be talking about, we're gonna delve into, do we think the NFL should have trades like the MLB does trades as often, and the trade deadline like they do, because you don't often see as many trades in the NFL. So do we think the NFL should have that? As for the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company, we published a book. Scott wrote it. George wrote the foreword. It's called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. If you want to see a picture of a young Scott with a young Muhammad Ali, go get the book. So you can see the picture of young Scott before he had all the white or gray hair that you see. You can also go to our website. There is a plethora of great content. And if you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you like baseball, we talk baseball on Monday, football on Tuesday, Wednesday on Sports Exchange, and Thursdays on Fire Up. You never know what we're going to be talking about. And then, of course, on Sports Wrap, we want to thank Josh for the new logo, but we talk hockey on Sports Wrap. As far as if you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. If you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. I will say one other thing. Yes, for any of you that are college football fans, yesterday was the Miami Hurricanes Media Day. We made our way down there, and Scott got a bunch of great interviews. So you'll have to watch the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you turn on the notifications once you've subscribed, you'll get notified when they go up and go public. So do that, turn it on, and wait for some of those great interviews. He even talked to a couple of coaches, a special teams coach, a running back coach. Go check it out. Make sure you're subscribed and make sure you have the notifications turned on. Back to you, Scott.
They were all great, but I'll tell you, I have to admit, Jason Taylor was unbelievable. He's a real deal, the Hall of Fame player as well. Hall of Fame person, Hall of Fame. I'm sure you're pretty well about him, Alan. Jason Taylor is just a classic individual. He's just classic all the way. And if you look at my Facebook page, Alan, I'm sure you'll see it later. Candy did a good action out of him and I, myself interviewing the guy. Unbelievable. So, any closing thoughts about tonight, Alan?
Well, a lot of nice discussion. I
Yeah,
appreciate
it was-
being invited.
Well, I appreciate you coming back for a second time as well. George, as always, great job. We'll be back for a loaded baseball show Monday. So if I were you, Mr. Eichhorn, get a lot of rest because we have a lot to get to. As you know, Cody, I guess you're going to be busy for a couple weeks. We're going to take a little bit of a break anyways. Want to make sure we were able to get a little bit of time in here tonight. Glad you were back, and you're definitely going to be into the rotation when we do this all the time. You're definitely on our number one. If we have a 4-man crew, you are definitely in it. Alan, you have an open invite. George and I, we do it anyway. Mike Santos and whoever else I can come up with. So meanwhile, I want to thank JDY for also being in the chat room. And Cyber and Josh, better see y'all in a few minutes. I'll fire up there. Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure I have a feeling you may see those guys for a couple of different reasons. I won't let the cat out of the bag there. But on behalf of Alan Greenberg, thanks again, Alan, for being on. George Eichhorn, Cody Spink, my name is Scott Morgan, around the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Sports Wrap, and we will see you the next time. Everybody have a great weekend, and thanks again for joining us. Bye now. Fire Up is next with Candy Ebling, the Country Club. Go out there. I'm sure it will be an entertaining wild show with this group and the Country Club. Good night, everybody.